Okay, so I might get a little stick for this, and it's something that I've figured out recently, but it's this whole idea with the concept of talent. So I think the prerequisite is you want to build a great business, get really talented people in line with the vision that you're trying to create and really push them. And you don't have to push them even, because if they're really like fucking A players, they will go over and beyond and kill it. But what I've realized is you would think that Bangalore is full of these sort of people. Now, again, this is just my opinion. From my experiences, this might not be true, but from what I've noticed, it's so against the reality of things. I feel like Bangalore, we have all the resources, we have all the capabilities, all the, I mean, maybe for a huge part, a lot of the infrastructure to really go out there and fucking learn and become A players. But there is just no hunger or passion, I feel like. Again, strictly my opinion, maybe I haven't found the people that are this way. My goal for the next decade of my life is just to find these fucking motherfuckers and just surround myself with them. So if you're somebody that fits that sort of description, where you're just curious about things, you want to go out there and learn and, I don't know, do something fun out of your life other than smoking, drinking and partying and wasting away your life, then please hit me up. Like, seriously, even just for a conversation, nothing more. I'm not trying to get anything out of this. I'm not trying to sell you anything, but I'm just, I'm in search of such people for the next decade for my life, just because it's just fun to be around such people. So I've got a story to convey this idea, or where I landed on this perspective uh, from. So with PaintMe, at a certain point, we thought that, okay, we need to hire interns. Okay, so probably a wrong decision in hindsight, but I was like, okay, we need to hire interns. Obviously, it's an art business, so let's go to an art school and hire interns. So that's what we did. We went to Shrishti, and Shrishti had this like a final year show, not final year, final show basically for the second year students. So I was like, okay, you know what, second year, they're young enough to like have original ideas and not be fixated or molded into anything, and also they're mature enough to sort of like want to do some sort of professional work and create some sort of quality stuff out there for themselves, and for their own development. So I go to Shrishti. Now this is probably where I probably was a B player, because I just thought that, yeah, I go to Shrishti, I find one artist who's just like, wow, and I'm like, bro, you need to be part of our company, like, come on, let's go, paint me intern, come on. But that's not really how things probably should have worked out. I should have spoken to at least 200 artists, maybe even like 500 if they even had that many, because the volume really matters. But in hindsight, I was just, I know that now, but in hindsight, I was just naive. So I go to the school and I speak to uh, one artist, okay, because I think that, yeah, she, like, I can see some potential. She looks like, like she actually went over and above in creating her work, because of everything that I heard from her and how passionately she spoke about her subject. And I was like, yeah, dude, this girl like looks like an A player, right? And again, this is not a huge volume to judge by, I know, but the whole idea I'm trying to get across is there was hard work and all of that. But then eventually what I noticed is she did not join us. I'm not, and this is not me speaking from the point of view of that, yeah, she did not join us, that's why I'm butthurt and I'm creating this video or I'm telling this story. But it is more so from the point of view that I just didn't think she had enough curiosity. And the reason I know that is, when we were speaking to her, like trying to get her on board and trying to, like, understand if she would be a right fit and all of that, it was just like, oh yeah, okay, you do this, okay, nice, okay, oh, okay, cool, wait, how long do you guys work per day? Okay, nice, fine, okay. And I'm just like, hmm, maybe there is a lack of curiosity. Like, how aren't you asking me all the questions in the world, like the randomest of questions? And mind you, like, a lot of times when I have these conversations with people, I make it clear, like, just ask. Like, I mean, like the number of stupid questions that I can think of, instances where I have asked because I'm just like curious, or I'm not too sure about something and I want to know more about it. It might be dumb to the person that's listening a lot of times, but I'll just ask it anyway. And that's when I realized, like, okay, curiosity is probably something that really lacks in the city, and just hunger and passion to do something. Like, we've gotten so privileged. Probably it's the problem with our generation also. We've gotten so privileged and comfortable with everything that we've been given, that it's just like, yeah, you know what? That is something that I'll always have, so I don't have to worry about it. Like, why should I go out and do something? Why should I go out and learn something? Why should I go out and explore, like, all these different avenues of life? Like, life is so fucking beautiful. There's so many things out there to do. But you know what? I have it good. I have it comfortable. Why do all that shit? Coming back to the whole idea of talent in business, I think there's this misconception where talent is sort of associated with genius. Sure, there are geniuses out there, but if you really like, I've been reading a lot of autobiographies and biographies, and also listening to a lot of them of late. And if you actually study them, right, the amount of work that goes in to creating or doing everything that they did. Like the other day, I read something about like Pablo Picasso, and I think it was some crazy stat. I don't know the exact numbers. I'll pin it down in the comments below, but basically, it was a stat where Pablo Picasso lived for like 65,000 days or something, and he had like uh, double the number of that of artworks created. I don't know the exact fact. I'll pin it down in the description. But basically, the whole idea is that motherfucker was creating like somewhere around like 1.5 artworks per day for every day that he lived. So you get the idea of the amount of volume that he had to do to be considered a fucking genius. It's insane, and this is true for like everybody. Like, you take Steve Jobs for example. How like Steve Jobs like was considered a genius not when he was 20, right? At 20 he just followed, he just built something that was going to be built anyways, right? Like, if not for him, somebody would have built a laptop. In fact, Bill Gates was on to it too, right? Like, not obviously not a laptop, but at least the UI of the app, like the whole GUI thing where you can overlap windows and stuff. Bill Gates figured that out too, and they both copied that from like Xerox PARC, where that whole concept sort of was created, and these guys just recreated it in a more better way for customers. And so you can't really consider him a genius there. The true genius came when he was like 35 or some 40 or something years old, where he actually built like the iPod, the iPhone, the iPad, and the iMac, and those really changed the trajectory of Apple. And that's when he sort of like reached that whole mountain of genius entrepreneur or individual of our generation. And when did that come? That came so many years into his life, because he had made so many mistakes by that point. The amount of volume of mistakes that he had made, it's no like, it's so obvious that he reached that level. Like, if you make so many fuck ups at that level, right, it's inevitable that you learn from it. If you have like 0.25% of self-awareness in you, I think being self-aware is probably more of a genius factor than being like talented or like being gifted. Because by being self-aware, I don't mean you're very self-introspective, but you're constantly learning. You're like, okay, shit, I did this wrong. Like how fast can I fix this? How fast can I change this of myself? Like, that's crucial. It's one thing to know what you're doing wrong, but it's a whole nother ball game to actually implement that and make that core part of your identity. Now, another idea when it comes to talent is, see, one thing I'll tell that I've figured out for myself. There are so many things that when it comes out to when it comes down to talent out there, where like you need to hire highly talented people. Don't settle for B players. Don't, like, settle for average. For every average person you hire, they are going to hire more average people, and that's going to ruin the sort of power dynamics of a company and all of that. But what I've realized for myself is, knowing all of that, I still made the same mistakes, and I probably will continue to make the same mistakes, but I will learn obviously through it, which is something that's crucial. But the next idea that I'm trying to get across is, mediocrity is expensive. And I think, like I said, my whole goal for the next decade of my life is to just find people that are really passionate about what they're doing and just have conversations with them, exchange ideas, and just like surround myself with them, because mediocrity is not just expensive for me, but it's frustrating. Like, I cannot tolerate B players. That's what I'm realizing. I think maybe before I was more tolerant of it, but now as and when I'm growing, like it's really frustrating. Like it's literally one of the biggest stress causing factors in my life right now, when I have to interact with B players who just do things for the sake of doing it, and they're just like average in all senses. Like when I look at some people and like they're just like going through life without any you know any purpose. I wouldn't say direction. I don't think I have any direction right now in life, but at least I'm like, I want to be curious. I want to learn different things. I want to read different things. I want to explore. I want to see what are all the possibilities out there, at least something. Over like people who are just going through life trying to get validation. I fucking hate the validation game. Like, it makes me cringe so hard. And it's this whole idea of like just choosing to be average. It just frustrates me. And in a business, it's fucking expensive. But I still haven't figured that out. I'm not gonna lie. I can't say that yeah, I've figured out that mediocrity is average. I mean, is expensive, and that's why I will never make that mistake again. I don't think that's true, but I know that it's expensive. So I figured that out. Now it's time to like implement the whole idea where I do not settle for mediocrity, at least when it comes to talent. I know I don't settle for it in a lot of areas of my life, but when it comes to talent, I definitely have. And that's something I need to figure out. Now, this next whole idea when it comes to talent is curiosity. I think talented people are really fucking curious. Like, they just have this innate need to know everything of a particular subject, and that's what eventually makes them talented or geniuses and all of that. When it comes to work and work culture, the problem is schools really have fucked this up for us. You'll see me rant about schools in a lot of my videos, but I'm also sort of saying this so that you can probably reprogram yourself in things related to topics that I'm talking about. I know I do it a lot. And it's this whole idea where schools, you go from like whatever 10 to 4 or 3 or whatever time being, and they sort of dump information on you, and they're like, you need to learn this, you need to do this, blah blah blah, follow these things, like do it like correctly, don't do anything else. This is like how things are, this is what learning looks like. So boom, that's it. And then that same culture translates to college, and then that same culture translates to like work, where you think that yeah, my 9 to 5 is somewhere where my boss is going to tell me what to do. I'm just going to do it, go home, take my salary, then live for the next paycheck, because I'm a broke ass bitch. And I think that's like really unfortunate, because think about it. If you're really curious, if you're really like, I want to learn things because I want to know more about them. And if you're able to keep that sort of attitude part of your core character going through all of these systems. In my case, fortunately, for a huge part, I sort of escaped the education system, because my schooling till 7th 8th grade was in India, where I learned everything with the molded system sort of. And then when I went to China, we'd already learned a lot of what we'd learned because I was studying in an American school. So I basically could like loaf through classes and not have to worry too much about my grades and stuff. And then when I came back to India, I didn't go the conventional route of like 11th and 12th with PUC and all that stuff. I went through IGCSE, which fortunately I had the privilege of. Again, I'm very glad that I could afford it. My parents could afford it. And I went through the route of IGCSE, where I just did like 3 subjects, which is English, IT, and arts. and in that also is self-study. So I didn't really have to. So I was just exploring things like with art. I was just exploring things out of my old curiosity. With IT, there's a lot of Photoshop and stuff involved, and I was very fucking curious about Photoshop. So I was doing all sorts of crazy stuff with that, and I think I somehow just escaped the education system. So I was fortunate for that. But it comes back to the whole idea of people in our generation. We associate work with that sort of culture where we're just told to do things. And I feel like employees or uh, anybody that's working for any company that really looks at their work as an opportunity to grow and learn different things and figure different things out, that's really a game changer advantage. And that's again the sort of person that I want to surround myself with, not somebody that's just going through their 9 to 5 because they get a salary at the end of the month. Now, another thing that comes along with talent and getting talent or hiring talent in businesses is it's not something that just happens, right? I had this misconception, like for example, when I went for the PaintME intern hiring thing, where I thought that, yeah, we just go out there, we look for an intern, we'll find them, they land in our front of our, like, our face because I affirmed it or I visualized that shit the night before. And that's really not how talent works. That's what I've realized. There needs to be a proper system in place to actually get talent on board, which I haven't figured out. I'm sorry. I wish I could share to you how to actually get talent. I haven't figured that out for myself. But I know that it's important. You cannot wing it. You cannot like just. It's not like all of the iterative things and Edisonian things that I keep talking about, where you just go at it and you figure it out. It's talent is something that there has to be some sort of structure, there has to be some sort of order in place to find these people, because just going for it is not going to work. You need to have some sort of value add for the person. You need to have some sort of vision or some sort of mission that you're going towards for that talented person, because talent does not talent has opportunity, right? Talent does not have to worry about a job. Talent knows that fucking a job is inevitable. But am I really curious about this thing? That's where your mission and your vision and your sort of persuasiveness comes into the picture. So I think the last idea that's validating to me, I don't know if that's even a word, but I think the last idea that really helps me when I think about all of these different ideas and concepts is, look, it's been hard for everybody throughout history to find talent. And all of them have iterated and learned and evolved and done the same mistakes that I described, but eventually they fixed it and they learned from them and they got better at it and figured it out. The way they did that was in the battlefield. And what I mean by that is they actually did that by hiring 100 wrong people and then realizing, okay, this is what it takes to have a good hire. And I think I am glad I'm doing that myself. These are theories and ideas. I'm not just coming up with my, like, oh, from reading like a lot of books or from watching a lot of videos, but it's actually stuff that I'm learning from the battlefield. And that's just something that I'm glad about. And it's sort of keeping me sane because obviously I'm not doing it at the level that some of these guys probably were, but I'm doing it nonetheless in whatever way I can. So that's reassuring for me. And yeah, that's about it for this video with the talent. I know it was a little random, it was a little all over the place. Trust me, I developed a better structure for it with this whole video and the idea behind it. But I guess when I was speaking, I was just like, you know what, fuck it. I want to wing it and just come up with my own ideas and concepts while I go for it. Unlike talent, getting talent, this is not something that I want to sort of put a formal process into the picture with. I just want to, these are all like these videos, these ideas are just concepts that I'm sharing to myself that someday I will sit and reflect upon. And also, in a lot of ways, I want to get it into my brain. So that's the whole idea behind it. But I know inevitably in this, there is some value that you might gain out of it. And if you did, then like and share this to somebody that you think might also gain some value out of it. But that's about it for this video, guys. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next time. Bye.